last night?
Caught a little bit of it. We made a whole Super Bowl day out of it. So it was my son Luca's birthday. And
it was my son Case's birthday, February 12th.
No way.
He was 3 yesterday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, joint parties in the future.
That's right.
Share the cost.
Yeah, 3 and what, a 10-year-old?
I just turned 9.
Yeah, I'm sure they like the same things.
Yeah, we did. We ended up doing a joint birthday. His buddy's birthday is later this week. But we did, Super Bowl themed. So there was like 16 kids came. We did 4 teams of 4, a little
nice.
7, no, not 7, but 4-on-4 deal. We painted a field out in the backyard and it was super competitive, dude.
That was fun.
It was fun, man. It really was. Kids loved it. And, it was that, it was kind of that relaxed atmosphere that dads wished practice was when you go watch flag football.
Right.
Super Bowl's in a little bit. I could drink a beer and watch my kids play flag football.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there was or wasn't betting on the kids, the 8-year-old kids. I'm just kidding. But no, it was fun, man. It was a great day, and then followed up by a phenomenal game.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see a record? Speaking of betting, I think it was a record $16 billion.
Oh gosh,
on the game.
I believe it. The fact that you're gonna bet on if Gronk makes a field goal or not.
Yeah.
Which totally
did he
set
make?
up.
Did he?
Bro, no.
I
So
missed
no.
that.
But if you watch it, you couldn't tell if he made it or didn't make it. It looked like he made it. And when I watched it, I was like, wait a minute. And they're like, oh no, didn't make it. I'm like, seems a little bit suspect and set up. But I mean, people are doing it. And we did a bunch of prop bets. There's another family that ended up staying at the house and watching, and so all the kids were in on it, and it was which song is Rihanna going to open with, and how long is the national anthem, which by the way was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Chris Stapleton.
I saw the very first part of it and missed the rest, but I heard it was
crushed it.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
And then I missed all of Rihanna. I was putting the 3-year-old to bed.
Yeah.
So I missed all of her.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the internet broke for sure, trying to see if she was pregnant or not. And me being an ignorant guy, 100%, I'm like, well, she's not doing much. She's just kind of standing there. And my wife and her friend are like, I can't believe she did that. Pregnant, let alone breathe, the dancing that she did, that is super impressive. I'm like,
yeah. I didn't even see her, so I don't even know how pregnant she looked or didn't.
So a little bit. She definitely, it was definitely noticeable.
Right.
She had this red outfit on, this tight shirt, and then she had this bigger jumpsuit over it. And then at one point she had an even bigger red jacket over that. But I mean, music was great. It's going to be hard for me to ever beat last year's with Dre,
Throwback.
Snoop, and Kendrick Lamar, and 50, and
Yeah, I watched the first half, and then second half went, like I said, or during halftime went and put my son to bed. Came back down. I'm at that age now where if I'm laying down on the couch after about 8 p.m., there's a good chance I'm falling asleep. And so I missed the whole third, most of the fourth quarter.
It was a great half. It really was. I mean, Kansas City looked like a completely different team. That's just a sign of leadership, from players and coaches, but just to reset. And it's you could totally feel the momentum shifting to Philly. And then they came out and it was a completely different team that second half with Kansas City. So it was fun. It was always fun to see Philadelphia lose.
Yeah.
I mean, then you get to the end and there's, controversial call, and you hate when there's a call made that blatantly shouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
That impacts the game as much as it did.
Yeah. Somebody actually DM'd us about us what our thoughts on that were. What I thought was live from the field, you're one angle as that ref. That's tough. I mean, that's a very hard call. To make.
It is.
And so he had to do it. So I get it from his perspective why he made the call. Again, we have the luxury of replays and angles. And
100%. It's easy it's easy to watch it in slow motion.
It sucks that call
didn't grab him.
It's such a big.
The hard part about it is, and I know this now because I refereed a bunch of 8-year-olds yesterday in flag football, so I'm pretty much a pro, and I could probably do the Super Bowl next year. But the hard part is that it makes me believe that he was looking for that.
Yeah.
Right. There was a little bit of grabbing off the line of scrimmage, which 99% of the time they'll let go, because really you can make contact within the first 5 yards, but you can't hold, but you can make contact. So there was a little bit of grabbing. He ran a little return route, like a return wheel route, And so when he grabbed him, I think his eyes were already drawn to him from the initial kind of contact. And then when he rolled back out and went up the sideline, he had his hand on his back, and he just, from his angle, to your point, it felt like, okay, he's continuing to hold him. Yeah. So like retroactively, you're like, okay, I saw him holding, probably going to let it go, and it still looks like he's holding. Now it's a prolonged, like act. So I've got to call it. Yeah. But I feel like he was ready to throw that.
Probably so.
Like it was one of those, like, if he'd have just like not had it in his mind at all, like I'm not going to.
Yeah. Like, that's a good point.
But in his mind, I feel like, hey, I'm ready to throw this flag if I see anything. So you're kind of looking for it. It's kind of what it felt like.
That's that human element that you get.
Yeah. It's impossible. Right. I mean, you can be as impartial as you want, but it's impossible because that's such an impactful play. And then if he lets something go, I mean, I don't know. It goes both ways. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess my opinion, I don't have a dog in the fight either way, but I guess I would have liked to see that play out. No penalty.
Yeah, let them play.
Kansas City kicks the field goal. Yeah. Now we see, can the Eagles come back and drive and either tie it or win it? So we were a little bit robbed of a crazy ending, but again, I don't care either way. I mean,
because it bottomed like an extra 35 seconds.
Yeah. So the Eagles tried to let them score the very next play.
Slid, which was heads up,
which was very smart.
That's an Andy Reid. That's an Andy Reid team right there.
Being able to bleed the last minute and 30. So, it was a great game. The what's getting a lot of attention, I don't know if you saw this, is the field.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard the background. It was some formula, some special
new
formula,
blend.
New blend of grass that
mix of Bermuda and rye or something like that. They were never used,
and they were bragging about it before the game of how awesome it was going to be, and it took them multiple years to come up with this, and ended up being the worst field you could possibly play on.
Yeah.
I mean, guys were having to change cleats
all over.
Yeah, it was bad. It's like they're playing on ice out there.
Yeah, and there was a couple times, impactful plays that guys were slipping.
Yeah. And then the other, just not really football related, but back to the betting. So I listened to a podcast called Pardon My Take. It's a sports, Barstool Sports. It's actually the #1 sports podcast in the world. But one of the co-hosts put a bet on the Eagles weeks and weeks ago when the odds were 22-1. And so he put down, I don't know, 8-10 grand, something like that, to pay out 250 grand or something like that. And so obviously he's pulling for the Eagles. Yeah. Well, one of their producers is a massive Eagles fan, massive. And so the host sent the producer, to the Super Bowl, paid for his ticket, $6,000 ticket, said, if the Eagles win, you don't have to pay me back. If they lose, you do have to pay me back. So
got him.
Yeah. So not only is this guy, the producer, a massive, he's diehard Eagles. Oh. So not only is he bummed because they lost, now he's got to pay $6,000.
Heartbroken.
Back to and I don't know. Who knows if he actually makes them pay up or not? But it's just pretty funny.
Yeah, that's salt in the wound right there. That's rough.
Anyway, it was fun. It was a fun game.
Yeah.
It was a great game. Like I said, for the parts that I watched, it was a great game.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, there's definitely times I had to wake myself up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Obviously not what we're going to talk about today because we're not a sports podcast, but what I do want to talk about, we'll get to in a second. Before we get to that, we do want to thank our partners. First and foremost, Choctaw Casinos and Resort. Just saw a nice billboard on my way in. They're giving away cars in addition to money this month. So they're giving away 16 different cars along with $1.5 million every Saturday.
What kind of cars?
It didn't say, but I'm sure they're not
I may be in the market for a truck, so I may be driving up to Darren, Oklahoma.
Yeah. So
we get in on that.
We say it all the time. No other entertainment venue is going to pay you or reward you for being there as much as Choctaw Casinos and Resort. Get yourself up there. And then our other partner, Sleep Number.
Yes.
We actually just got back over the weekend from an awesome trip.
Gosh, man.
Out there to the Super Bowl with Sleep Number. Not only a cool opportunity just to meet different players and different celebrities that come through, but getting to hang out with the actual Sleep Number team.
Yeah.
Everybody from literally the CEO who was there for a few days down to, the production guys. They are top-notch people. And that's where I, especially as I get older, especially as, time goes on, I think more about where I spend my money by the values of the company.
Yes.
And the people in the company.
Yep.
And man, I tell you what, I wouldn't want to put my money for everything, all things sleep, and anybody else.
No doubt. I mean, yes, the product's unbelievable, and what they're doing, the impact that they're making, and just bettering lives across the board, unbelievable. But the mission behind them,
that's right.
What they're trying to do especially and specifically with cancer research, is just phenomenal. But 100%, I'm with you. Like, I will, when you get to know the heart behind a company, and it starts with Shelly, the CEO, and we'll have some content coming up with her story and what she's doing. But I mean, there's very few CEOs of a caliber of company like that anybody that walks up, she is immediately like, we're best friends, and just warm and caring and just genuine. And so, I mean, you see that, and then you see it reflected in the people. And so anybody that's out there that is in any type of leadership position, whether you own a company, your partner's in a company, you're just in leadership, in a publicly traded company, within a school, it doesn't matter. Any leadership position, I'm telling you, people are watching, just like kids. People are watching on how you treat people, how you interact with people, the energy you bring, and it is blinding how apparent it is within the Sleep Number organization, just how much people love doing what they do.
That's right.
And not that it's not without challenges. The stress that some of that team was under, working with athletes.
It's the worst job on earth.
It's literally, it's worse than herding cats.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and I can say this because I'm one of them and they're my guys, but it's insane. Like, getting them to show up when they're supposed to show up, how they're supposed to show up, and do what they've agreed to do.
Yep.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, just because you're paying them doesn't necessarily mean they're going to show up on time.
Crazy.
In a good mood.
But again, the athletes were great.
Yeah.
And it's not that like the athletes weren't good, but there's just a different, and we always joke about Tyler time, right? I'm always like, well, I'm always a couple minutes behind, and little bit athletes, it's just like, there's not that urgency. There's not that, it's like, it'll start when I get there.
Yep.
Because that's what people reinforce. Right. And not that anybody ever did that with me. It's just a normal bad habit for me. It's not like a learned bad habit. But the guys were great and gracious. I mean, loved spending time with DeMarcus Ware. Yep. I mean, his story is incredible. That was awesome. I mean, Gary V, getting a few minutes with him was epic.
Really cool.
So there's just Justin Jefferson. I mean, just a stud, man. Austin Eckler is always, dude. Keep an eye on this dude. Austin Eckler is a beast, and because he's going to kill it on the football field, but he's going to kill it in whatever he does next.
Yeah. And you can see him already thinking
brand,
6 steps ahead.
Opportunity.
Yeah, brand opportunity.
Where do I add value?
Yeah, he'll say yes to anything, because not in a bad way, in a great way, because he wants to set up life after. So, I mean, we've got a lot of great content coming from the Super Bowl, a lot of great episodes coming up, and it's all thanks to Sleep Number. So go over to Sleep Number, check out their, either online or they've got retail stores all over the place. So check them out. All right, on to today's topic. So we started a series a couple weeks back, answering the question in a couple different ways. Is the U.S. the greatest country in the world? And so episode 1, we went over our education system, our experience with the education system, what the statistics say. Today we're going to talk about marriages, divorce, and single-parent homes. And just like last time, I kind of want to start with some statistics to set the stage, and then maybe have a little conversation on top of that. So marriage statistics. So it's 3 different sections. Marriage, there's divorce, and there's children in single-parent households. So the marriage statistics. So in 1920, shortly after the First World War, there were 12 marriages annually for every 1,000 people in the U.S.
Okay.
In 1946, the year after the Second War ended, so over this time, the trend started to rise a little bit, more marriages per 1,000 people. Marriages reached a peak of 16.4 marriages per 1,000 people. So from 1920 at 12 to 1946 at 16.4. And then slowly, gradually, the marriage rates decline. So since 1972, more specifically, marriage rates in the U.S. have fallen by almost 50%. And are currently today at the lowest point in recorded history at 6.5 marriages annually for every 1,000 people.
And these are marriages. Let's clarify.
These
not
marriages.
People are married. It is marriages that actually take place.
That's right. So from 12 in 1920 to our peak of 16 in 1946, now down to 6.5. And then in 1950, approximately 80% of households were made up of married couples. And in 2020, the number is 49%. 80%, 1950, 49% 3 years ago. And then over the period from 1990 to 2010, there was a decline in marriage rates in the majority of countries around the world. So not just the U.S., but the majority. Yeah, it's a global issue.
Yeah.
Global trend. All right. So what are the divorce statistics? So the U.S. stands out with consistently higher divorce rates. So this is divorces per 1,000 people. It consistently stands out with higher divorce rates more than any other country. However, as the average age of marriage, unmarried adults, and cohabitation has increased, divorce rates have been decreasing. So we outdo everybody in the world for divorces. It's been going down only because less people are getting married.
Right.
So the percentage of people that get divorced after they get married is still all-time highs.
The actual numbers.
But the actual divorce rate is going down just because we're not getting married at the same clip. 45% of marriages end in divorce in the U.S. For many people who marry between 20 and 25 years old, more than half of these marriages end in divorce. So if you're getting married in your young 20s, there's a greater than 50% chance you're going to end up in divorce.
Jeez.
And then the percentage increases to 25% for those who marry after, or decreases, sorry, the percentage decreases to 25% for those who marry after 25. So 20 to 25, you're a little over half. If you get married after that, the statistics cut in half of that to 25%.
Yeah.
And then at the world level, the proportion of adults aged 35 to 39 who are divorced or separated has doubled from the 1970s to the 2000s.
Really? That's interesting. So the divorce rate between 35 and 40 has doubled since the 70s. Interesting.
Worldwide.
Interesting.
And then lastly, and these are tough to read, the children in single-parent households. So out of 130 countries studied, the U.S. has the world's highest rate of children living in single-parent households. Out of 130 countries. 23% of U.S. children under the age of 18 live with one parent and no other adults, more than 3 times the share of children around the world who do so.
3
So
times.
the average around the world is 7% of kids live under 18 living with a single parent. In the U.S., it's 23%. Of all births in the U.S., 41% of children are born to unwed mothers. This rate has increased to 53% for those born to women under the age of 30. So the younger the woman, the higher percent chance that she's going to be single raising that baby. And then 1 in 4 kids live without a father in their home.
1 in 4, 25%.
1 in 4 kids live without a father in the home in the U.S. So what are some things that are causing this potentially? I don't know. Maybe first before we get to that, what's your overall reaction to everything I just read there? Leading the world in a lot of disturbing categories there.
Yeah, so a couple of them make sense. I understand the success rate of a marriage after 25. You're just more mature. You've made some more, important decisions up to that point. You likely are at a different place in your career. You're a little bit older in that the options outside that could potentially look better than your current marriage are plentiful between 20 and 30.
Yep.
Right. So it makes sense. The younger you get married, the higher the likely. I just think of how messed up I was.
What age were you?
I was 26 when I got married.
I was 24.
Yeah, but the immaturity that I was at like 23 was crazy.
Yeah.
No place, ready to get married. But at the same time, now you're looking at the marriage rate, which I don't particularly have a problem with a lower marriage rate. Like, to me, if you decide, look, marriage is not the route I want to go, I'm fine being single, I'm fine. The problem is, and that doesn't, you talked about it a little bit, but people are just living like they're married, but not actually committing, right? And again, I would be interesting to see what the statistics are there of breakups or separations from folks that live together without being married as well. So, but overall, I don't personally have a problem, like, wait to get married. Like, if you're not sure, don't do it, because that is a lifetime commitment. I'm okay with that. But yeah, the increased divorce rate, we just have, our society is so much of a self-centered, it's all about me. I'm not happy. I'm out. I'm not going to fight for this. I'm not going to sacrifice. I'm not going to change myself because I'm not the problem. You're the problem. And so it just baffles me that there's just so many, it doesn't baffle me. Baffles me that people will make that sort of promise and commitment and then just so easily just exit it. And when you get into the kids, that's the problem that I have, is that we are so selfish and we justify it like, oh, it's a bad situation. We're fighting all the time. It's better for the kids if we're apart. Mm-hmm. In some instances, I do think that potentially could be the case. If it's a violent, dangerous situation, one of the parties or both are abusive, like, yes, not healthy. That's a very small percentage. And I believe that people are just like, no, I'm not happy. So I want to show my kids what happy looks like. So I'm going to go find something better.
Yeah.
And I have a very, very close relationship where that was the case. It was just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go do me, and I'm going to go do everything that makes me happy. What that shows is your kids is you're not willing to fight through the hard times. You're not willing to be self-sacrificial and say, I will do whatever it takes. I will change. I will give up this. I will give up that. Let me help fix it. It's no, you're not good enough for me. I'm going to go find something else. Mm-hmm. What is that showing the kids? Look on the opposite. What if you were to show the kids, hey, I'm going to work at this. It's hard. We struggle. But you know what? On the other side of it, because, and again, I'm just ad-libbing here, but I would imagine the numbers of marriages that stay together that, hey, potentially went through a separation, decided to work through it. Like the joy on the other side of that is incredible. And the example and the impact that makes within the home is profound.
Right.
I just, those numbers just back up that the U.S., we just have a selfish mindset where it's, I'm going to get me, I'm going to be happy. It's too hard. I don't want to do it. Let's go find something better.
Yeah, I didn't look up. I should have looked up what the different breakdown of the reasoning for the divorces are. I agree with you. I think getting older or waiting for an older age to get married, especially in current times, I think is probably the wise decision. In the 50s and 40s, you had to get married because you had to have that support system of each other to survive. Now it's very easy to survive as a single person.
Yeah.
You don't need the double income as much as you used to.
Well, and look at the average age that kids now leave the home. It's like over 30.
Yeah.
So kids are staying home longer. And to your point, in the 50s and 60s, it was like, all right, you're 18, you're an adult, go.
Well, and you were contributing to the family from an earlier age too.
Yes.
Darren grew up that way. He grew up working at the age of 12 to contribute. He was born in
the 20s, so
that's true. That's true. That's very true.
Gosh,
but I mean,
he started working old jokes.
He started working at 12 to contribute to the family. Yep. That's just how his family worked. Yep. But I agree that, man, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of factors of divorce that lead to divorce. For me, when I was 24, I didn't know what all was involved in being married. The school I went to, it's just what you do.
Yeah.
There's a saying for it. It's called ring by spring. And the idea is that you better find that wife, you better find that husband, but before you graduate, or else what are you going to do after that? You're going to go off into the world by yourself? That's crazy. So most people that I knew, we were all married in our early 20s. That was just culturally, that's just how it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't grasp the full weight of that decision.
Yeah.
Would I go back and change it? Absolutely not, because I'm going on my 11th year of marriage now. Obviously, it worked out well for me.
Yeah.
But I can see why it doesn't in many cases. I'm to that age now where I am seeing people that I knew growing up starting to get divorced. Mm-hmm. And so I'm with you, waiting, understanding the full weight of that decision that you're making. Because when you're early, especially for me, I was 24, first year out of college. My wife was still in college, so we were still in the college town that I lived in. There's still a lot of distractions.
Yeah.
My buddies are all single at this time. That we're still in town. We're single. There's girls, obviously. There's a lot of distractions early on. And I've got to have a couple of friends that got caught up in that early on. And I used to think, oh, cheating on your wife, that's the worst thing you can do. How can anybody ever do that? I totally get it. Not that I've done that or that I've, even been
Understand
close
the
to
temptation of it.
but I certainly understand the temptation.
Yeah.
And so again, there's a lot of different
Especially at
things
that age.
Right.
Right. You're young. Your lifestyle hasn't changed too much. Like, you don't have kids. You're not working a 9 to 5 necessarily. Like, not established. Kids aren't on like sports teams. Like, you don't have the kind of community pressure and stuff like that. I get it.
Yep.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
What carried us on early was the excitement of marriage. It's new. It's the honeymoon phase.
Yep.
And then you start having kids. You start getting older. You start getting now. So instead of the excitement and all the potential pitfalls of being young and dumb, now it's been replaced with we're just used to each other.
Yeah.
And now we're roommates.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to fall into that mentality of, well, we just live together and we have kids. And are we still really working on our marriage as much as we should? If I'm being critical of myself, no. I'm not doing things today that I did early on to get her to fall in love with me.
No doubt.
And so that's always a wake-up call in my mind. People say, continue to date your spouse. And I see what they mean because it's very easy 11 years in, 3 kids later, to just fall into the roommate mode.
Yep.
And I'll see her in the morning before I go to work for 2 minutes. Go to work all day, come home, we eat dinner, we get the kids taken care of, we put them down. I'm exhausted by 8 p.m. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. And did we ever really spend time together?
Yeah.
No. We're just, what's the phrase? Ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
And so I can see how you let that slide for year after year after year. By the time I look up, I'm 40. I don't even know who I'm married to anymore.
Yep.
Of course I'm going to get divorced. I'm not married to the same person. I've changed. She's changed. So I can very easily see how you slip it. And then to your point, and then you add the element of, well, I'm not happy anymore. And everything's about personal gratification, instant gratification. I want it now. And if I can have that anywhere I look, everywhere I turn, why would I stick to this loveless happiness, happylessness? That's not even a word. Emptiness. Why would I stick to that?
Yeah.
I'm going to go off and get mine.
Yeah.
So again, not saying that to me, it reinforces the hard work that you're talking about.
Yeah. And then the other element too is you see these marriages that end in their late 40s or 50s for that exact reason, is your entire marriage is based upon your kids' lives and activities. And you're starting to see it. Yep. We've been in it for a few years where it's Saturday. It's, okay, this sporting event, this activity, this sporting event. Okay, now we go over here. Now we transfer over here. Now we got this birthday party. Now we're over here. Like literally all day, every day, Saturday, Sunday is about the kids and like where they got to go and where they need to be, which is great. And then you don't know your spouse on that intimate, deep level that maybe you did back in the beginning of the marriage. And so it is challenging. And then layer in like, well, it's not you, it's not me, it's you. Then there's the animosity. And then it's, all right, you know what? Let's just agree we're roommates. And for the kids' sake, let's just stay together until they leave.
Until they leave, then we'll.
Right. Where it's like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to be miserable for the next 10 years until our kids are out of the house. And then I'm going to be happy. Like, no. 2 decisions. Do you really, really want to be with this person? And I think if you get down to the core of it, the answer more likely than not is yes, I do love this person.
Yes.
I'm just miserable all the time. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. Like literally today is my wife and I's 13-year anniversary. Today.
Oh.
And so there's times where I like literally will pull in the house and I'm like, how do I get to my office without talking to anybody? She just like made me mad or she said something, right? And I get it. I totally get it. But here's the thing. Why not work? That's like saying, you know what? When the kids leave the house, then I'm going to go on a diet. Body feels like garbage. Not productive. I don't do it. I'm just going to, but when the kids leave, then it's time to start to actually get in shape. Like, no. Start now. Like, start working on it now. And it doesn't take a lot of effort, capacity, and really just like intentionality to make your spouse, husband or wife, to make them feel important. It's like little simple things like, hey, you've had a tough day. Let me put the kids down. Hey, you just cooked dinner. let me clean up the dishes. Hey, you know what? Let me take the kids to school today. Like, you just chill, have a cup of coffee. Like, it's little things, right, that start to help with the mood. But the bigger things is the intentionality, like the actual, like, all right, look, we're going to work on this relationship. We're going to have real conversations that aren't surrounded around the kids. And then we're going to reinforce that, look, kids, y'all are important, but you are not more important than mommy and daddy. And it's like kind of a morbid conversation. I've had this conversation with my oldest two, is that, hey, if we're on a ship at sea and you guys are all hanging off the side of the boat and I had to save one of you, I would pick mommy every single time. I love you and I'd be so sad that you died, but I would pick mommy every single time. You need to know that mommy is more important than you 100% of the time. Now, once that relationship is taken care of, now we can love you guys better. But it's just backwards. Like with a lot of these parents, after you get past this like young, single, like no kids, like fun phase, when it's kids, everything is focused on them and everything you do. And your identity now becomes through the kids, moms and dads.
Yeah. Now I find myself, the rare time we do go out on a date, all you talk about is kid stuff.
Oh, he did this today, or he has this, or his friends did this. It's like everything is about him. So you've got to be intentional. And my wife and I, it's been a little while since we've done it, but what we'll do is we make this like jar of popsicle sticks, and we'll do topics, just different conversation topics to talk through at dinner. And like we'll bring it, my wife will put it in her purse, and the rule is you cannot talk about your kids. You have to talk about something on one of these popsicle sticks that you pull out, and you pull them as you need them. But like having something prepared before you like go, and then, because then you're just like, well, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I got a busy day tomorrow. Kids have a field trip, and then we got sports after. I'm not sure how I'm going to be. Like, that's what it always reverts to. So you got to kind of go in with a plan. But back to this whole thing, the staggering numbers of single parent households is destroying our society. Mm-hmm. And parents, we need to do better. Mothers and fathers, we need to do better. Husbands and wives, we need to do better to fight for each other so that we can then fight for our kids.
Agreed. Yeah, what may be even more dangerous than a disdain for each other is that middle phase.
The apathy
phase. Yeah. Or the limbo of, so I don't hate you.
Yeah.
But I'm not showing you that I love you.
Just indifferent.
We're just indifferent. Yeah. We're just kind of existing.
Yeah.
And I find myself slipping into that more often than I should, that routine of, here's how my day goes. Anything that comes outside of that, I'm not really going to pay much attention to it. I'm just going to do my thing.
Yeah.
And you get to doing that day after day. Every Monday starts looking like every Monday. Tuesday rolls up, and by the time you look up, that's why you hear the phrase a lot of people say, I don't even recognize this person that I'm married to anymore. We looked up, my kids were crawling around the house. I look up, they're off to college. Like, who is this person I'm married to?
Yeah. No wonder, because you've never looked at the person.
Exactly.
Like, you're not seeing that person. You're not finding what drives them. Because guess what? Just like you've changed, your spouse has changed.
That's right.
Like, it's not that boring. I already know everything about them. No, you don't.
No.
I'm still learning stuff about myself.
Yeah. And
so imagine, like, it's still exciting to get to know and to date your spouse. And again, the impacts that makes on our younger generation, the example that we set is profound. So like, we cannot overlook the idea of pursuing our spouse. Yeah. We cannot.
Yeah. I think that's why that highlights the importance of finding activities together, finding things you can do that you can both pursue. Yeah. So not just the kids' activities, but actually an activity that you both are interested in. You can both invest, or a community of people that you can. That's why church, community, whatever it is that you believe in or not, it's a great place to find community.
Yeah. It'd be an interesting stat on like the divorce rate with people who are active within some sort of church congregation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that was one of the reasons that they gave, is the decrease in traditional religious and community first values.
Yep.
That was one of the reasons they gave.
And part of it, like, it's not just because, God's going to hate us. It's because you're around community that encouraged you to dig in, to get counseling, to get to know each other, to go through some sort of conflict resolution. Because the problem is a lot of us don't know how to handle conflict.
Right.
Like, we just don't do conflict well.
Yeah.
Like, we take shots, we hurt, because we have to win. And so I think that community encourages like healthy way of reconciliation.
Yeah.
And will give guidance. You know, every denomination, every church is different on their opinion of like, this is not a healthy, you should not be in this relationship anymore. Or like at all costs, you stay married. Right. And this is just transparency. I don't think that is the case. I think there are scenarios where it is better if a couple does separate and end the relationship for health of whether it's one of the spouses or the kids.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think just broad brush speaking, if you're tied to a religious community, just the values and beliefs of that typically are divorce is is the very last thing.
Yes.
You try everything else before you pull that lever.
That's right.
And so getting away from those values and just the value of marriage and the contribution that makes to society as well is very big in religion.
Here's the deal. Hearts can change. Honestly. Like it's never over. Let me take it back. Yeah, it's never over. It's never final because hearts can change. The fact that I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan is perfect example of that. I grew up with a pure disdain for the Cowboys, and now I'm a Cowboys fan. So I'm telling you, the heart can change, but it takes effort, it takes intentionality, it takes work. People don't want to do that because we're more concerned with the time and effort that we put into all the things that serve us. When that relationship may not be serving you, flip it on its head. Why don't you serve that relationship instead of it serving you?
Yeah. And maybe we'll end it with this. So why is all this a problem? I think first and foremost, you think of families, it's the building blocks of a good society.
Yep.
It teaches you so many things that are important outside of the home, right? Selflessness, looking out for other people, working together in a group. All of these things contribute to a well-functioning society. So it's and you're literally creating the next generation, right? So those are some of the reasons. Another couple of marriages reinforce values of selflessness, sacrifice, love for something other than oneself, like I said. 85% of children who show behavior disorders, 71% of high school dropouts, and 71% of pregnant teens come from fatherless homes. Let me read that again. 85% of children who show behavior disorders, 71% of high school dropouts, and 71% of pregnant teens come from fatherless homes. Children from single-parent families are twice as likely to suffer from mental health problems as those living with married parents. And then, again, like we talked about earlier, apathy. This last statistic may be even, just as scary. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-aged boy only spends about 30 minutes per week in a one-on-one conversation with his father. So it's not enough just to stay in the home.
Yeah.
Now you've got to be active. You can't be a passive father. You got to be an active father.
Right.
Because statistically speaking, fathers are only getting 30 minutes of one-on-one time per week, not per day, per week with their kids. And if I look at myself critically and I think about my family, now I've got a 6 and a 3.
I was going to say it's a little different. The conversations
it's a little different. I'm not able to
have a little different.
So my one-on-one time is different, right? It's playing sports, it's playing with trucks and cars with my youngest son. So it's a little different. But what time do I get home?
Yeah.
Right? I get home at 6 o'clock. They go to bed at 7. That's not a lot. We eat dinner. We do baths. That's not a lot of one-on-one time. So it's an intentional. It has to be an intentional part of my day to come home despite everything else that went along that day at work. I've got to suppress all that and realize my most important job is happening when I step foot in that door.
Yeah. Because here's conspiracy theory. What do you think the government prefers? What scenario do you think the government prefers?
They prefer a scenario where people are relying on them. And how the details of that we can debate.
Yeah.
But it definitely benefits
our leaders. Let's just go like
if we're relying on them.
Basic revenue for the government, right? Taxes. If you have split parent households, so raising a single parent, guess what? That parent's working in 1, 2, 3 jobs. Other parent working a job, as opposed to, and again, y'all can attack us in the comments, but the traditional home is where the wife will spend a lot of time raising the kids within the home. Okay, so more revenue. 2 is, do they want parents instilling values, teaching lessons, or do they want the government teaching those? Because if you're raised that you're going to take care of me, government, then I'm going to continue just to rely on you. So what do they want? Yep. They don't want parents raising kids. So if you look at it from that perspective, if you're not going to raise your kids, somebody will.
Yep.
And who do you want raising your kids?
That's right.
No.
Yeah. No, society, government, teachers, they'd love to take that job from you. So it's imperative for us not only to stay together as a married couple, work on that, make sure that's a strong, solid relationship. Now that bleeds over into however many children you decide to have in that relationship.
Yep.
And so these statistics are all headed in the wrong direction, but we can reverse that by the way that we treat each other in our own homes.
Yep.
And by the way that we treat each other in our communities. So I would recommend, if you are married, that's, like you said earlier, that's the most important relationship you have, is that marriage.
Yeah.
Doing things, and I'm talking to myself, doing things to improve that relationship.
Yeah.
Then next, I'm going to look at my kids. How can I spend more than 30 minutes a week with my kids individually, not as a group?
Yep.
Not, oh, we went and got ice cream. That's good enough. No.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I buy you ice cream. You're happy. I'm happy. Let's go.
Because the reality is my 6-year-old and my 3-year-old are completely different people.
Yep.
They're different activities, different interests. Spending time one-on-one with my 6-year-old is going to look much different. So I've got to be intentional. Mm-hmm. I can't just lump them together and decide, oh, that's good enough.
Yep.
They've got to have their own individual. I've got to pour into them each individually.
Yep.
Get involved in a community group. Some sort of, whether, if you're not a religious person, what activities are your kids a part of? Get together with those parents. Yeah. For us, it is a religious thing. So the church community group that we're a part of, that's encouraging. That's people coming together, that all with similar values coming together. Yeah. So getting involved in that community, that's 3 layers right there. If you just did those 3 things.
And look, it's not, even just find another couple, because so much we isolate, and guys, we're terrible at this. All we do is work, and then, okay, family, and I'm exhausted. Find somebody else that you can have these healthy conversations, get healthy advice, get mentorship. Find another couple, maybe hopefully an older couple that has been through some things, that can speak some life, share some wisdom of things that they've learned along the way. Like, it's really important that you don't isolate, because when it's bad, what do we do? When it's bad inside the house, I don't want to talk to anybody. Right. I don't want to share with what I'm struggling with. I just want to isolate, keep it all, and then it does nothing to help anybody. So find a community. And look, we're not experts by any means. But if you are just looking for some resources, gosh, sorry, I'm a little foggy today. Resources, DM us. We're not experts. We've got a handful that we can share. We can point you in the right way. There's some great books out there. There's some great studies. There's just some great programs. Like, focus on the marriage. Like, the end result that we're trying to fix is we're trying to raise up a younger generation that loves each other, that is productive, that is healthy, but it starts with the marriage. Mm-hmm. If we can get that right, then we can be better parents to those kids.
I love the point you made about the mentor couple. And again, my personal views on religion and things have changed over time, but we did just start going to a church and starting to get involved in an actual community there. But one of the things that sticks out to us is this particular class or this particular group. There's 5 older couples that lead the class, that are mentors in the class. So again, now I'm not just bouncing ideas off of people that are going through the same stuff, which is important. That's an important group to bounce stuff off of. I can now bounce stuff off of people that have been through it already. Yep. They've already come out on the other side. They have 25, 30-year marriages opposed to my 10-year marriage.
We've talked about that, right? Like, we discredit the older generation, but they've been through life. Yeah. They've been through the ringer, and they've fought through it, and they survived. That's right. Why not learn from that?
Why not learn from that? Yeah, don't disregard just because they're old. They don't understand.
They may not be able to navigate TikTok, but like, I guarantee you, they can give advice on what it means to love your spouse.
That's right. They know what works, what doesn't work.
What doesn't work,
where they've screwed up.
Yep. And it's not just this echo chamber. And that's the problem with some of these younger couples that you can get in trouble is, all right, guys, we're gonna go grab a drink Thursday night, and then it's just dad's just echo chamber, and then it's women wine night or play dates or whatever, and it's just echo chamber. It's just like, oh, he shouldn't do that. He shouldn't do that. Like, take a step back, find a couple or find someone, a friend that is actually going to call you out on your BS. Like, that will tell you if you're doing something wrong, you're wrong, Okay, I love you. Let's talk through it. But like, I would probably not handle that situation with your spouse that way.
Yeah.
Like those are the people you need to keep in your circle.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, again, the statistics are disturbing. Yeah. It's not a good direction we're headed, but the good news is we can reverse course, yeah. And it starts with us. Yeah. It starts with how we treat our wives, our husbands, starts with how we treat our kids, starts with how we interact with our communities. That's right. And so that's the encouraging thing is we can reverse the trend. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you guys got something out of that today. If you did, please help us by sharing the podcast. You guys have been doing an awesome job of that lately. We're growing seemingly every month here. And that's all because you guys are helping us out and sharing the podcast. So we really appreciate that. And we
got some good content coming up, so get excited.
Yeah,
There's some good stuff coming.
Yeah, Super Bowl week was great, and we got to talk to a lot of cool people. So hope you guys enjoy that. Hope you have a great rest of your week, a great weekend, and we will see you next week.